Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and Arena Cube has officially left Magic Arena for now because Murders at Karlov Manor hits tomorrow. So this is going to be our final premiere draft of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan for a long time, so let's give this format the swan song it deserves and see if we can't get a really sweet deck today. Without further ado, let's just hop into our pack one pick one, which is pretty easy here. Spyglass Siren has been a huge overperformer throughout the entire format. It's been one of the best uncommons in the set. 1 mana for a 1/1 flyer that hits the battlefield with a map token for a really nice value play. Plus it hits a lot of great synergies. It's the pirate creature type. It puts another permanent onto your board for cards that care about the number of permanents you have, and that permanent is an artifacts token, which is really important for a lot of different mechanics. There's the craft with artifact cards that can sacrifice that artifact for good use, and there's plenty of other cards that care about when artifacts enter the battlefield under your control and stuff like that. So very nice, very easy Spyglass Siren to start things off. For pick number 2, we can continue with 1 mana 1/1 flyers with Miner's Guidewing. This format has played out to be very aggressive, and evasive threats like flyers have played quite well as well. So that would be the best card to take off color, but we could also stick to blue with something like Cogwork Wrestler here. Once again, the artifact card type is fantastic in this format for a ton of different synergies. And the Cogwork Wrestler is nice, being a kind of combat trick on a stick. So you can have this hit the board, use it as a combat trick to win a combat somewhere, and then this will end up in your grave eventually for your craft with artifact card. So I think this card does play very well as well, but let's go for some blue-white flyers nonsense for now with the Miner's Guidewing. Pick number 3, we've got an incredible card for this archetype, and that is the Lodestone Needle. So the way that this works is it's going to be okay value up front, hitting the board at instant speed and stunning whatever creature we want for a couple turns. But then, once we craft it with an artifact by exiling one from our board or graveyard, we can flip it into the Guidestone Compass and repeatedly explore on some of our creatures. So if we do that on some flyers, we can load up some +1/+1 counters there, or just draw a bunch of extra land cards. Either way is going to be great value. And yeah, card just plays super well. For the blue-white craft deck, blue-white tends to be a deck focused on that craft with artifact mechanics, so you want to have a lot of artifacts in your deck, a lot of artifacts in your grave, but it also has a lot of great ways to use these cheap flyers. Once again, map tokens can put +1/+1 counters on creatures, and cards like Lodestone Needle, getting those creatures to explore again, can do it as well. Pick number 4, we could start going blue-red with this Goblin Tomb Raider. Great card if you have a lot of artifacts in your deck. But there's also Tinker's Tote out of white, which sticks to what we're doing right now. It's a great card with craft with artifact. You can sack it, gain your life, and also exile it from the grave later. So we'll just stick to what we're doing with the Tinker's Tote here. Pick number 5, there's another Miner's Guidewing. There's also Kinjali's Dawnrunner. A little bit more expensive, but a little scarier if it does manage to get the counter. A 2/2 double striker. If you get the counter on it, and you could potentially make it bigger from there with some other synergies. You could also do a little bit of splashing, try to get the Deep Fathom Echo in, but I haven't found this format to be a particularly splashy one if you aren't in like red, where there's a lot of treasure token production, or green, which has some mana fixing. So in a blue-white deck, I don't really want to splash towards a Deep Fathom Echo. So Guidewing or Dawnrunner, I'm just going to stick to just pure flying threats for now, and take the Guidewing. Pick number 6, things are starting to dry up now. There's the Envoy of Okanekahau, which is a little bit weak. It's just a ton of mana to make those 1/1s, so it's just a dirty little 3/3. The Glorifier of Suffering has a really bad power and toughness for its mana cost if you aren't getting value off its ability. So when it does pop off and you get to sacrifice a map to put a counter on a Guidewing and a Siren, then it is quite good, but it doesn't quite make up for the times where you do just have to play it as a 3 mana 3/2 and have it trade down into potentially a 1 mana creature. But I think both of these cards are better than Out of Air or Runaway Bulger, so I will take the Glorifier here. They're just not premium pickups, and they are some of the cards that, if we get enough great playables, we will end up cutting. Pick number 7 now, there's an Iron Paw Aspirant here, which is a card I'm a pretty big fan of when I have multiple 1/1 flyers in the deck, like double Guidewing and 1 Spyglass Siren. Those are cards that can really up its value. Plus, the Glorifier of Suffering does find some good synergies with it. Obviously, there's the whole map token synergy we were talking about, but also something like Iron Paw Aspirant with a great enter the battlefield effect. It's the perfect sacrificial fodder too, because we don't care too much about the 1/2 body afterward. Pick number 8. Nothing fantastic here. Runaway Boulder is just a bit too much mana for removal in this format. Didact Echo, once again, a bit too much mana, a bit too slow. I find Gem Guard to be pretty similar. It's a little too expensive, but this is the closest to something our deck could use, because we're actually pretty good at getting multiple permanents on the board, with 2 of our cards putting 2 permanents out, the Spyglass Siren and the Tinker's Tote. So that could be an okay finisher. Pick number 9, I'm very happy to grab our first Cogwork Wrestler here for a combat trick that hits our artifact synergies very well. Pick number 10, can take a River Herald Scout, which is always just a fine filler creature. Decent value for the mana cost. Could also take Might of the Ancestors. This is the kind of card that's an enabler, sort of, where you have to have other cards on the board for this to do anything. Then it does make those other cards better. Now, they just have to be creatures, so it's not the worst kind of enabler card, but still not a huge fan of those kind of supplemental sort of cards, so I'd rather just take River Herald Scout. Pick 11, basically nothing here. Draw spell that plays a little too slow, removal spell that plays a little too slow. I'll take the Boulder in case we get Abuelo's Awakening, because that's a really fun combo with that. That's a rare that doesn't tend to get picked super highly. That's a sorcery for a white and 3. You get to return any artifact from your graveyard to the battlefield as a 1/1 flyer, and you can also spend X mana to put X +1/+1 counters on it. So then you can cycle your Boulder early and reanimate it and blow some stuff up while making a flyer, which is pretty fun. So, a little speculative. That's basically the only way I would end up running that, I think. I mean, we don't have any interaction right now. We have, like, no removal. So maybe if we end up with literally none, we'll play the Runaway Boulder, but I think we can find a couple better spells than that. Pack 2, pick 1. We don't have any incredible options here. The Hermetic Nautilus is fine. It's just a fine power and toughness and ability for the cost. It's not incredible. Being an artifact is nice. That is helpful, but not the most excited about that. I might just take Quicksand Whirlpool. Once again, not the best removal ever, but it is better than the Quicksand Boulder, the Runaway Boulder. Same mana cost, but this could be cast for cheaper if we're using it on a tapped creature. So it's like the same mana cost, but this one gets to exile the target, and it kills a target of any size, and maybe it costs half as much if we're exiling a tapped creature, so much better than the Boulder. Pack 2, pick 2. I'm a little bit sad here, because I think we definitely have to take Subterranean Schooner. This card works incredibly with our 2 Miner's Guide Wings and our Spyglass Siren, plus any random 1/1s and 1/2s like Iron Paw Aspirants and Cogwork Wrestlers, 1/1 Gnome tokens. Just a really efficient vehicle that gets you value off that Explorer, maybe even buffs your board up a little bit. So really like the Schooner, but it's competing with one of the best commons in the format, the Waterwind Scout. Just the common version of Spyglass Siren, basically. Really good value, nice evasive threats. And there's also Duskrose Reliquary, and we are quite low on removal, so that's a high pick for us too. But can't really argue with the raw power of this rare. Pick number 3, there's nothing really for us here in blue-white at this point. We can grab an Oltec Archaeologists, which is fine filler. 5 mana 4/4 that picks up a Tinker's Tote to recast it, or maybe one of our artifact creatures that's traded off. Or we get a Pirate Hat, which is a pretty mediocre equipment. I'll go for the Archaeologists, but I think either one of those cards I take there will want to end up cutting by the end. Pick number 4, once again, just some pretty filler options. I'll take the Pirate Hat this time. I don't think we're going to be a Shipwreck Sentry deck. Pick number 5, get a second Cogwork Wrestler. Perfectly happy with that. And for number 6, we get some decent interaction with Unlucky Drop. It doesn't permanently kill whatever you're dealing with, but putting it back on top of your opponent's library does mean they skip their next draw step to redraw that card. So it is still a 1-for-1, like any other removal spell. It's just more of a tempo removal spell where you're dealing with it for a little while. Pick number 7, Oaken Siren is really nice in this archetype. It's going to be another cheap, aggressive flyer. Great to put counters on with our Schooner, our Lodestone Needle, and our Glorifier. I'm going to go for that over Inverted Iceberg. Problem is that Oaken Siren gets a lot better when you have multiple cards like Inverted Iceberg that are these basically like 6 mana, 6/6 artifact creatures that just come with a cheap card draw spell attached for the front half. So we really want some Icebergs to go with the Siren, but I think we have enough synergies for cheap flyers to take the Siren first anyway. Pick 8, we already have one Puzzle Door I'm not that interested in a second, so I'll take another Iron Paw Aspirant to go with all these flyers. Market Gnome is like okay, but pretty narrow and when it's good, and we only have like 2 craft cards right now, so I'm not that excited. Pick 9, definitely not going to play 2 copies of Pirate Hat, so I'll grab a random Acrobatic Leap for that combat trick as an option. Pick 10, Dusk Rose Reliquary is very helpful for us. We are happy to see that. Solid, cheap removal. We just need some sacrificial fodder, and our deck does have that. With cheap creatures that get value right when they hit the board, like Cogwork Wrestler and Iron Paw Aspirant, those are perfect things to sacrifice to the Dusk Rose Reliquary. We also have map tokens potentially off of the Spyglass Siren, although I think that is our only map token producer. But there's also like Tinker's Tote, where we can sacrifice the tote itself, since it doesn't really do anything after it enters the battlefield. So that's another good synergy for the Reliquary. And even sacrificing one of our 2 Guide Wings, like they have a death trigger, so that's not the worst case scenario either for the Reliquary. Alright, holding down the Alt key just to see if I don't have a full play set of any of these cards so we could rare draft here, but I already do, so I'll just grab an uncommon for Vault Progress. Fill up into getting some more wild cards a little quicker. And we're in a great position here. Our deck is somewhat medium. It can definitely use some good finishers, being what we need the most. But the fact that we already have 20 playables and we're not in the 3rd pack yet is a great place to be. We only need 3 more good playables to get there. And if we get more than 3 playables, then we get to start cutting some of the more mediocre or medium additions to this deck and just improving and improving from there until it becomes maybe something very powerful if we're lucky. All right, pack 3, pick 1. Not a great pack for us to open up. Honestly, not a great pack in general. The only card I would consider like pretty good is Saheeli's Lattice. It's basically for red-green dinos. It's a great draw spell because it's a draw spell attached to a big dino late in the game. But Sunfire Torch is also okay. River Herald Guide is okay. There's really not a lot in this pack, and there's almost nothing in blue or white. We just take the Attentive Sunscribe on color. I think it's the best creature for the mana cost, and it's got that really relevant card type being an artifact creature. Pack 3, pick 2, we've got a Waterwind Scout competing with a Ruin Lurker Bat. These are both fantastic cards. I think we have a little bit more synergies and a little more reasons to actually take the Waterwind Scout here. First off, it's going to fit into the curve better. We've got a decent chunk of ones, but we only have 2 3-mana cards. But secondly, we have multiple reasons to want this map token pretty badly. Obviously, putting counters on our flyers is great, but also we have the Glorifier of Suffering to sacrifice it and the Dusk Rose Reliquary to sacrifice it, so I think we take Waterwind Scout over the Ruin Lurker Bat, but just barely. And if this were a pack 1, pick 1 situation, I do think Ruin Lurker Bat is good enough for its mana cost to actually take a little bit higher than Waterwind Scout, but in the context of our deck that we have right now, Waterwind Scout does get that that marginal tick in its favor. Pack 3, pick 3, I think I take another Oaken Siren. We've got enough artifact spells and ways to buff flyers that Oaken Siren's going to be great. Once again, potentially a position where taking Dawnrunner over Oaken Siren is decent. But I do think our deck has great uses for Oaken Siren, and Dawnrunner is kind of just like a standalone threat. Nothing super synergistic or great there. Yeah, we'll take the Oaken Siren and be perfectly happy with that. Pick 4, I don't think we want a 3rd Cogwork Wrestler. But the only other thing to take is like Council of Echoes, which is kind of a lot of mana. I did want some finishers, but the finishers that I like in these kind of decks are the ones that you can cast early and then flip later. so you get some value no matter what. Really just the inverted icebergs. I'm quite a big fan of the earlier pick of Oaken Siren over inverted iceberg. It's not looking too hot for us. Having one Siren and one iceberg at the top end would have been a better position for this deck. Yeah, now I don't think there's anything in this pack we really end up playing, but maybe we play 3 wrestlers. All right, pack 3, pick 5. We've got a third Oaken Siren. I don't think that's super necessary. I'll go ahead and grab a Petrify here for some more removal. It's pretty decent. I like that a bit better than the Cosmium Blast and the Unlucky Drop. Unlucky Drop, of course, just a tempo removal spell, and Cosmium Blast can't kill everything, but the Petrify, you could put on anything regardless of its size. And regardless of whether or not it's trying to attack or block. Pick 6 has nothing for us. We are not going to play a Boulder. We're not going to play another Puzzle Door. And we do not have enough Merfolk for the Deeproot Pilgrimage. I suppose I'll just rare draft the Deeproot Pilgrimage. I'm not trying to do any helping hand combos here. I think the card is narrow, even if basically every creature in your deck is 3 mana or less. Pick 7, another Glorifier of Suffering. Could be fun. Yeah, now that we have Quicksand Whirlpool, Unlucky Drop, Petrify, and Duskrose Reliquary, I don't feel the need to take a second copy of the Quicksand Whirlpool. Hidden Cataract would be okay too, but I'll grab a second Glorifier. We are quite deep into the Flyers kind of archetype. Speaking of being quite deep into the Flyers archetype, Deconstruction Hammer is fantastic in that kind of deck. You just slap this onto one of your flying vigilant threats, like Miner's Guidewing or Oaken Siren. Now you're beating in for a chunk more damage and holding up some better blocks. So big fan of Deconstruction Hammer. Also, of course, main deckable artifact and enchantment removal. Don't think I'll be playing an Envoy of Okanekahau. I guess we could try out Might of the Ancestors with this deck with this many flyers, but I'd rather just have a random Hidden Courtyard. Oops. There we go. Now I will rare draft an uncommon, rare draft an uncommon, and rare draft an uncommon. Let's go. Alright, one Cosmium Blast is actually an option in deck building here. I don't think we play it again, because I like pretty much all the other removal spells we're running more than it right now. And we don't have room for like infinite removal. But it is an option. Okay, so we've got 46 cards here. We're needing to cut 6. We probably want to be at that 15 to 17 creature count for your average, relatively aggressive, limited deck. And we're currently at 18, so we can cut up to 3 creatures pretty freely. So I'm going to drop the Shipwreck Sentry. We've got a decent artifact count here, but I'm still not a big fan of the card. And I'm going to cut River Herald Scout just because it doesn't really have any synergies. I think the rest of the creatures stay in though, so we go full 17 creatures and drop 4 spells. I guess we have Tinker's Tote, which also counts towards the creature count, so we're actually still at basically 18 creatures. So I should cut one more. Maybe the Triple Wrestler is a bit much. We'll cut one of those. Back down to 17 here. 3 cuts from the non-creature cards now. Acrobatic Leap does not look very good in a deck that has a bunch of pretty small creatures. I think this gets better the bigger your creatures are. It's still fine at protecting them from dying for a turn, but I don't know if we're going to have room for a pretty medium combat trick like that, so I'll drop that. For removal, we do have Reliquary, Whirlpool, Unlucky Drop, Petrify, and Cosmium Blast. Well, as I said before, I think Cosmium Blast is the worst of all of these, and don't think we quite have room for all of them. I think this is a reasonable position to just drop like 1 Cosmium Blast and then drop like 1 land with the way our mana curve is, especially if you consider Whirlpool as castable at 3 mana. We can drop a Cosmium Blast, check our land count, or check our spell count, which is 14 white spells, 10 blue spells. And if that's the case, have a little bit more white than blue. Although I guess we already do, because we're at 9-8. I don't know if I want to go 9-7. It's probably still fine. I really only need 1 blue source, it looks like. Yeah. Although I don't have any double white spells either, so it's better to go 50-50 split on a 14-10. I don't actually know, but that might be close enough that it is. I'm going to go 50-50 on it. Anyways, yeah, I think we just cut a land there, because our average mana cost 2.3, that's pretty dang low. Don't really need to hit more than 3 lands most games till quite a bit later. I think 16 lands is perfectly reasonable. And we'll call it a deck here. Alright, so here's a look at our final deck list for today. We're a blue-white Flyers deck with a ton of ways to beef up those Flyers and speed up that evasive damage. We have 2 Miner's Guidewing, Spyglass Siren, 2 Oaken Siren, and a Waterwind Scout. Then we have 2 Ironpaw Aspirant and 2 Glorifier of Suffering to get some +1/+1 counters onto those Flyers, as well as the Deconstruction Hammer for an equipment to put on them, and the Lodestone Needle, specifically the Guidestone Compass, as another way to get +1/+1 counters there. Also, the Subterranean Schooner works as well. Crew this with some of our little 1/1 Flyers and make them bigger over time with the +1/+1 counters we get from exploring. And yeah, that's pretty much the game plan. Beef up our Flyers a bunch, get a bunch of damage in there, and slow our opponent down long enough to chip in for lethal. We have cards like Unlucky Drop, Lodestone Needle as tempo removal plays that slow our opponent down from damaging us. Then we also have Quicksand Whirlpool, Petrify, and Dusk Rose Reliquary to actually just permanently kill our opponent's scariest threats. So that is our final Lost Caverns of Ixalan deck list for quite some time. We'll see how it all plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for game 1 on the draw with a pretty great opening hand. The one awkward thing about it is it isn't actually like the perfect 1-2-3 curve of Guidewing into Siren into Glorifier, because we don't have anything to sacrifice to the Glorifier yet. So that is a little awkward. So now I can Oaken Siren into Aspirant Reliquary and then Glorifier. It's pretty good. Or just Aspirant into Glorifier, if there's nothing we need to Reliquary, which is probably going to be the case. Alright, we're racing a green-red deck. Green-red, of course, being the Dino color pair in this format. We're going to Final Strike my Oaken Siren, fair enough. Aspirants up the Guidewing then. And then Glorifier up the Guidewing and the Glorifier next turn. I'm going to Unlucky Drop their biggest Dino and then Reliquary it once they redraw it and recast it. River Herald Guide is the play. Ancestor's Aid is the top card, and they are going to mill that. Tinker's Tote is the draw. That's really good to sacrifice to the Reliquary or the Glorifier. That kind of makes me want to play the Tote here instead of Glorifier this turn. Hope for 1 less damage by doing it in this order. But then I can like Glorifier sacking the Tote to make the Ironpaw 2/3, which could be pretty relevant. A 2/3 against the Brawler is fantastic. And we'll see if they combat trick the 1/1s here. Don't know that I can afford to just go to 9. Not blocking at all. We'll go to 11 here. Panicked Altasaur. Well, there's the Unlucky Drop targets. Could also just Reliquary. I can play Reliquary and Glorifier in the same turn. Unlucky Drop the next threat. Alright. There's going to be 3 toughness Glorifier here. I guess the Guidewing's 3 toughness as well, so either of these blocks the Brawler from doing anything. Really close game. It's 12-11, 3 cards in hand to 2. 2 cards to 2 now. Interested to see how this is going to pan out. I mean, our board state is favored, so that is nice for now. But all it takes is 1 really spooky Dino, and while I can delay it for a turn, once they redraw it, recast it, could outrace us, maybe. They are just going to hold all their mana up. Well, I believe I'm going to do the same then, with an unlucky drop in hand, even though I could play Archaeologists here. Probably a little better to be able to play around whatever nonsense they're planning. At the very least, we don't Archaeologists till main phase 2. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty glad I did this, because this would have been an absolute disaster. Main phase 1 Archaeologists would have been horrendous. This is still really bad for me, though. Because even if they just spend all their mana on Altasaur, that means no attacks anymore. I guess... Well, this is actually not horrible, because Archaeologists can pick up the Duskrose Reliquary since they didn't exile it, so that's definitely the play. Never mind. I was so used to exiling stuff, I for some reason thought my Reliquary was exiled, but it is not. So that Altasaur is a gigantic reach creature, so no pokes with the Guidewing. Not yet, but just going to take 2 pokes to kill them. So let's get the Siren down. Sacrifice the map token to exile the Altasaur. And save a Wrestler just in case. I could slam down the Wrestler and use that, so that the map token could put a +1/+1 counter on something, but I'm pretty greedy with my Cogwork Wrestlers. Feel like they can pretty consistently get good value. Like, if I attack in on the ground here as well, they have to block each of these, and I probably get to win a combat. Right, I just beat their axe draw. Yeah, this was definitely worth it, and they're just going to concede now anyway. To where, yeah, if they don't have anything in hand there, like, on board we're already winning, and then we're super winning when Wrestler hits, and the axe draw doesn't even kill my Glorifier because it's only doing 2 damage to that 3 toughness card. Alright, really nice stuff from the deck. Really close game overall, but we do get there in the end with some nice evasive damage. So we're going to start things off 1-0 heading into game 2. Here we are for game number 2 now. Once again, Glorifier showing off that it's not really a 3-drop, because we don't really want to play it turn 3 with this hand. We want to go Guidewing into Sunscribe and wait till we can find some Wrestler value. Hopefully we can. If we can't, we'll probably have to flash in the Wrestler during their end step just to have something to sack to the Glorifier. Buff these up. Okay. Well, that could be our Cogwork Wrestler target. Play the Wrestler turn 2 instead of the Sunscribe, and then play the Glorifier turn 3, buffing itself and the Guidewing up. Let's see. I wish I had a... whatever the blue-white duel is right now, so I could play Puzzle Door and still hold up Wrestler. Oh, that's rude. How badly do I want to explore here? If I want to explore pretty badly, I could just play the Wrestler now. I don't actually know how worth this is, but let's get that value, because Wrestler's not going to matter until we get another flying creature anyway, for the -2/-0. There's an Aspirant. Ooh. I think I need to do some digging for more flyers, though, to beat the Ruin Lurker Bat. Okay, they're stuck on 2 mana. Well, I think I'm glad I milled 1 Aspirant. That's a very cute draw. Let's play Sunscribe instead, though, to get some scrying off. Definitely not Glorifier right now, because we want to get the Puzzle Door down, so we can crack it next turn. Petrify the Sunscribe, so it's just 2 mana and a bunch of removal. I mean, that bat having lifelink is huge. Keeping them alive a while. There we go, there's an Oaken Siren. That's enough to stop the bats in its tracks. Kind of want to cash in for just instant damage right now. This might be a bad idea, but I'm just going to cash in maximum damage. They're over it. All right, well, decent idea, I guess. 3 power Cogwork Wrestler, 4 power Glorifier of Suffering, threatening 7 damage a turn. And they are over it. Tired of not hitting their lands, I guess. And we are going to be 2-0 headed into game 3. A little low on creatures here, but still a keep. We've got both our colors. We've got interaction and threats. The ideal draws here are just a bunch of creatures, really. 2-mana creatures, mostly. Nikanzeal, turn 2 from our opponent, which is going to really buff all of their explore cards, which is pretty scary. They get extra +1/+1 counters whenever they explore for a +1 counter, and when they explore for lands, they can just put them right onto the board. So that could be bad if they explore a lot, and it looks like they are going to. There's a scout, so that is just immediately ramped right there. Looks like it might just be the scout, though. Yeah, just the scout. Okay, so not terrible for us. Just Whirlpool, the Nikanzeal. Still got a backup Reliquary, so I think I will do that here. Make sure that they aren't just hyper speed exploring through their deck. Slamming down more lands that quickly. Alright, there's the 3/4 on the ground. Okay. I mean, we gotta hit something to use with this Glorifier. We're not doing super hot right now. 3/4 body is just real scary. Archaeologist lines up perfectly against it, though. But if they can get a map token, which is very possible in their color pair, then they can just make that Bronnet on a 4/5 instead and get right past the Archaeologists. They could also cast a 6/6 early because they ramped with Nikanzeal. Okay, so this might be a loss. This is not tracking well for us because we can Reliquary the Dreadmaw, but then they can just brawn it on the Reliquary and get it back. And in order to Reliquary the Dreadmaw, I have to sacrifice something actually valuable right now, like a 3/2 or a 1/1 Flying Vigilance. I guess the best line here is probably to do it anyway. Because they still have to spend 3 mana to do their thing. And then they won't get to attack us with that. Alright, well that's not what I wanted to see. I was really hoping we would actually explore into non-land cards, so this would also be threatening to be a lethal blocker against the Bronodon of 4/3 on blocks. That would have been the perfect case there for that line. So definitely lost that Explore coin flip. Ooh, and they have the unlucky drop for the Reliquary. Good grief. So they can draw a card right now. Again, still attack with Bronzodon and have the 6/6 ready for next turn. Well, we gotta put it on top. Then we play the Archaeologist to block Bronodon and the Reliquary Sacking Glorifier to kill the Dreadmaw. I think I'd rather draw one from the top 2 next turn than scry 3. Because then we draw for turn plus draw this instead of just drawing the one thing I scried up next turn. They've got another Nikanzeal. They've just got main deck naturalized too for the Reliquary. This is not a good matchup for us, it looks like. A little bit of Divine Justice for our quick early victories. With a pretty locked in loss, it looks like. I mean, I can find Petrify for Dreadmaw, but then they can use Bronodon since they still haven't had to use that. Neither of these help that much, but I do have to choose one of them. So I'll choose the slightly better one. With Schooner, if I can have archaeologists explore into a non-land twice, then I can trade into Dreadmaw. But I don't have time to do that without dying, because I'm at 10 life right now. I guess with Aspirant, I am threatening to double block Dreadmaw. But they've got the Captivating Cave to just make it an 8/8 in response anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Aspirant's better since it makes it so I have 2 blockers, but because of the Captivating Cave, I don't think we really get anywhere regardless. Then instead of caving here, if I had Archaeologists and Aspirant on board, they just cave on a Dreadmaw, have an 8/8. I have no good blocks. I chump with an Aspirant, still get trampled for like 6 damage. Yeah, all I can do is chump here, so might as well explore and then chump. Oh, it's when it attacks we get to crew. Okay, I've actually never gotten to play with this card before, surprisingly. So I was unfamiliar with that. Stop 5 damage instead of 4 by blocking the non-trampler. There's a Chart of Course 2 for value. Final discovery. Woken Siren, that is still dead on board, I think. I block Dreadmaw with a 4/4, get trampled for 2 down to 2 life. I block the Bronchodon with a 1/2, and I take 5 damage total, because I take 2 from Dreadmaw and 3 from Neek Zeal and Scout. And that is the most damage I can block. That is still lethal. So we are 2-1 heading into game number 4. Here we are for game 5. We've got Guidewing into Siren with a Cogwork Wrestler somewhere in the middle. Pretty solid start. We are on the draw here. Still so sad that the Kamigawa lands are bugged right now. There's no text on them. What is this card? Doesn't even have a name. I need to start pre-combating my 2-drop creatures because Cosmium Blast exists in this format. But, I don't know, it's my first time drafting the format in like 15-20 days or something, and my last time drafting the format, so does it really matter in the end? I hate that that still has its ability if I petrify it, so I'm just going to hold up the Whirlpool and hope they can't give it Vigilance here. With the 3-mana enchantment that gives +2/+0? Alright, they can't. Oh, I can't cast anything during their turn. Oh, that's actually insane against me right now. Well, it doesn't draw them a card right now. We just take 3. Wow, yeah, we have no good outs to this. Oh my god. Then we get bomb rared. Sentinel of the Nameless City. Not an army in a can. It spits out map tokens instead of creature tokens, but a significant amount of power and toughness in a can. Really busted card. We'll have to petrify that one then. And I think I need to do that right now, despite being able to Whirlpool the Cootseal right now. And get the petrify going. Alright, so I can't actually cast my Cogwork Wrestler here, which is a bit of a bummer. Maybe I should have just main phased it since I can't use it as a trick anyway. Ooh, War Scribe is going to let them draw a card if I don't chump block with something here. It's pretty annoying. I think they just get the card and then we Whirlpool Cootseal next turn. And then we're just dealing with a 4/3 and 3 cards in their hand. Okay. And they're not going to block this, so let's get the Explorer value. And if they do block it, then, I mean, we're living in magical Christmas land, where Cogwork Wrestler goes crazy. I think I take the 4 rather than wrestling right now, because I'm going to play Oaken Siren and crew the schooner with my new Siren next turn. Alright, Cavern Stomper is quite the finisher here, because we're not going to be able to block that if they use its ability. Pretty much at all. Opponent's deck is very nice. The Cootseal into Sentinel really was just a devastating start. Cootseal into Sentinel. They just also have the finishers. They've got the follow-through. They went premium 3-drop, premium 3-drop into 5-drop, 6-drop, so we're gonna have to do a lot to try to turn this game around and find a victory. I think the best line is still to go to like 1 life here. Well, actually, shoot. Scooter doesn't have any kind of evasiveness. But maybe they'll think we have Cosmium Blast here if I sit for a second. Okay, they do not think that I have Cosmium Blast. They are down to 13. 4 damage, 5 damage in the sky per turn. We kill them in 3 swings from Deconstruction Hammer. And we also just died at Combat Trick. Alright, still not dead yet. Vanguard of the Rose is the play. Oh boy. I don't even have removal left in my deck that can deal with a 7/7. Oh wait, no, I've still got the Dusk Rose in there somewhere. Alright, well if they play a removal spell, we die no matter what I play, so I guess I'll do this to hit them harder, and then I have to chump block with the 3/4 Oaken Siren, or die. I am surprised they didn't use the ability here, because that lets me keep the 3/4 and lose the 2/3, which is cool. Yep. Ooh, old Tech Cloud Guard too. Alright, we certainly could have played this out much better. We did end up making a chump attack with Subterranean Schooner, because I kind of just forgot it's not evasive. And then we could have milled this Deconstruction Hammer, which would have gotten us our 6th land a turn sooner. Woo! So certainly did not lay this out right, but god dang it. And then the auto tapper tapped us out of blue. I guess Oaken Siren's blue. Yeah, we're good. Actually. Yeah, I mean, they're down to 8. Maybe if we played this perfectly, we could get there. If they have literal nothing, I'm still dead because of auto tapper. God dang it. Yeah, I should have looked at my graveyard before I did that, rather than just auto tapping out the archaeologists. That's really annoying. Because I can't block with Siren and play Wrestler. Well, and block with Wrestler. Oh my god, yeah. They do go for the all attack. If I had an island up instead of a plains, I could have played a Wrestler to make the 1/1 deal 0. I can block there, Wrestler block there, 4/4 block there, and then I still have another turn to attack them with Oak and Siren. That's pretty annoying. Alright, well, probably actually would have got there if we played perfectly then. Because we got them down to 5, and even with those misplays, I could have survived that attack and hit them back down to 2. So, probably a winnable game there, surprisingly, despite the quality of their curve out on us. Not going to be a victory in the end. It is going to be 2-2 heading into Game 5. Here we are for Game 5. We've got 3 blue cards and an opener with only white sources. Pretty close to a forced mulligan. I am going to take the mull. Alright, this mana's much better. Aspirant into... well, Schooner into Aspirant instead to attack with Schooner turn 3. That feels good to me. I'm going to play a 2-drop turn 2 and turn 3, so I actually don't mind if I miss land 3. Plus I'm on the draw, so it's not that likely to miss land 3 on turn 3, even keeping it as a 2-lander. And again, like, I don't mind if I miss land 3, and if I do... what am I trying to say here? I'm not that likely to miss land 3, and I don't mind if I do. That's what I was trying to say. Because we can still do everything but Gem Guard, and Schooner digs for the land. If they don't kill it immediately, it explores every turn. Except that I played out the wrong turn because I was talking. We might be fine, though, because I'm not a big fan of Canonized in Blood. But we should have played Schooner and then Aspirant. Which is literally exactly what I said I was going to do. I hate those multitasking kind of misplays, where I will say exactly the play I'm going to make out loud, and then I just don't click the buttons to make that play, because monkey brain is monkey. Yep, and now they just have a 4/3 on board by the time I attack with a Schooner. Still fine, because we've got the Wrestler in hand, but we absolutely should have sequenced this out differently. Ooh. Who needs lands when you've got 1-drops? Alright, and here I could have went for Guidewing first, but if they didn't go for a block, I was going to Lodestone Needle. So I like having that option of Lodestone Needle up rather than playing Guidewing pre-combat. They don't go for a block, they go to their turn, move to combat. When they move to combat, we cast Lodestone Needle instead. And it's always possible they don't go for a block there, because Blue-White has Cogwork Wrestler. There's a Bitter Triumph to kill the Aspirant. That is A-okay. We're just going to keep hanging out with the Schooner. How does this work? Every time they've descended, they put a counter on a thing. Okay, they have not descended. It's more... actually, no, it's the same damage, because the 1/2 can attack into a 1/1. I was gonna say it's more damage to crew with the Wrestler, because the Guidewing can just poke them in the sky, but the Wrestler can just poke them on the ground, because they don't have a good blocker. Alright. Let's hammer up the Guidewing and Puzzle Door this turn for all of our mana. All of our mana, oh my god. That was a Freudian slip if I've ever heard one. I'm so ready for Mergers at Karlov Manor. I'm so ready. I wasn't expecting to be drafting Lost Caverns of Ixalan today. I didn't know they were taking down Arena Cube today. I thought they weren't taking it out until Murders at Karlov Manor was done. So, you could definitely tell I'm a bit off my game. I have like half deleted this format from my brain by now. I was not prepared for this set. Still on Cube brain and Murders at Karlov Manor brain. Those are actually not terrible right now because we only have 3 lands on board. Normally that'd be a pretty big bummer to see that, but don't really mind it here. I don't think I want to deconstruction hammer their canonizing blood. I just want to keep the damage going, really. Yeah, I mean, we're just out racing them. Yeah, and there's the concession from our opponent. It is going to be 3-2 now. At least a 50-50 record to top off this format. Like this hand a lot. Guidewing is going to be a little bit flimsy, a little fragile for a while. No 2-drop to play. Curve out with it perfectly, but we've got the Waterwind Scout turn 3. That'll be spectacular. But if they find the removal for the Guidewing before turn 3, then they can kill it without us getting our Explore trigger. Turn 2, Burning Sun Cavalry, and never mind, we found Spyglass Siren, which fits in perfectly on the curve at 2 mana. Explore into the land. Well, get this land clump out of the way at least. Another red-green matchup here. We won the last red-green matchup, but I'm a little bit worried of potential beef later in the game. Here's the Waterwind Scout. And then double Glorifier. You can play a Glorifier sacking the map to get 2 guaranteed counters. And then we could play a Glorifier sacrificing the other Glorifier. That could be funny. We did Final Strike our Waterwind Scouts. That does slow our damage down pretty drastically. And they play a Jadelight Spelunker. Explore 3 times, hit a Malamet Scythe, put it to the grave, hit a Wanderglyph. Keep it on top, make Spelunker a 4/4. Yep. Alright, 4/4 is annoying. I think I still gotta go max damage here. I was thinking about buffing the Glorifier so I have a 4-power blocker for Spelunker, but I'm just gonna go max damage, and the next turn I can Needle Glorifier, Needle down the Spelunker, and buff the Flyers again, hit for 6 on our next swing in the sky. Yeah, because Glorifier has still got them, or stopped them from attacking with the Burning Sun Cavalry. Ooh. And we can just Needle the Altasaur instead now. Needle the Altasaur. I think I sack the Glorifier to this Glorifier, because then if we... Well, no, we don't. We can't craft this right now. We have no artifact to flip this. I was going to say, then if we flip this, and we explore onto one of these creatures and get the counter, then we hit for 7. But we actually don't have the artifacts available to craft that. So I think I actually just do this. Then I'm threatening lethal in the sky next attack if they don't just trade cavalry off here. And cavalry's basically a 3/3, not the Altasaurs on their board. So trading our 3/2 for a 3/3 seems decent. Uh-oh. They've definitely got something in their hand if they're willing to go down to 4 life here. Never mind. Okay. I was going to say they have to at least have removal for one of the Flyers if they're going to do that, because otherwise they're just dead on board. Maybe they did, but they just didn't like the rest of their hand, didn't like their draws or something. Were they trying to, like, find a lethal crackback or something? They need to draw a 6th land? No idea. No idea exactly what that was not trading there about. But I guess we'll take it. We are now at a positive record at 4-2, heading into Game 7. Alright, here we are on the play for Game 7. I don't think we keep the mono white hand, because there's, like, nothing good for the Aspirant to put a counter onto. Not doing much till turn 4, especially without blue mana for these. And even with the blue mana, these are more interactive defensive spells. Yeah, it's got to be a mulligan. This is also mono-colored. And this has more off-color cards than the first hand, so it's going to be a mull to 5 on the play. We're going to be down 2 cards and not drawing on the first turn. Okay, well, I suppose this is one way to end off Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Once you get down to 5 cards in hand, it is incredibly hard to justify mulliganing to 4. Starting the game down 3 cards is a death sentence with even some of the best possible 4-card hands, so kind of have to keep and hope that the puzzle door finds us a plains. It's not a fun position to be in, though. I think I get rid of the hammer to have multiple creatures in hand. Okay, find plains for turn to play Guidewing. Turn 2. We do find it. And now we're basically just down a couple cards, which again is not good, but at least our mana is ready for whatever we draw into. Playing against a blue-black deck, usually pretty controlling. They do not need a lot of removal to ruin our day. Against blue-black, I don't think I need to play my creature pre-combat, because all of their removal spells could kill it in response to me casting Glorifier anyway. Alright, they're going to cycle the Brine Fang. We could always play it slow and go for the Wrestler in their end step, just have something to sack to the Glorifier. Okay, well, I need to 2-for-1 myself here. The question is, do I sack a Guidewing or a Cogwork Wrestler? I think we sack a Cogwork Wrestler. But if we don't kill this Akalpakal, it is incredibly likely to take over the game. Any turn that they play an artifact of any kind, it can be a token, it can be a creature, it can be a non-creature artifact, they get to draw the best card out of the top 2 cards of their deck. So it's an incredible card draw engine that is going to put them from up 2 cards to up infinite cards. Alright, Merfolk Cave Diver hits the board. That stops Glorifier of Suffering, unless this map token puts in some work. And it does. Finds another flyer, too. We've got them down to 10. There is a chance here. Again, 0 cards in hand to 5 cards in hand is never where you want to be, but the life totals mean there is a possibility that we sneak through for enough damage quickly enough. I believe we attack with everybody next turn. The Dart Frog just trades into one of our creatures. Probably the Glorifier, and then they take 3, go to 7. They already know what my top card is, so we might as well pre-combat it. Have more options of where to explore if they do choose to kill my other Guidewing. And I do think if they kill the other Guidewing, I'd want to explore onto the first one. Okay, they're going to lock down the Glorifier, so now they just take... probably still take the same amount of damage, they just don't trade into the Glorifier yet. They get to keep their Mana Dork, their little frog friend. Which they probably need, because they don't have a natural green source right now. They'd have to filter that green mana through Captivating Cave, so this is kind of like their forest right now. They're down to 7, though, so I mean, they can't keep it forever. They will trade it off eventually, I imagine. And they could always draw into like some dead weights, just 1 mana, -2/-2 kind of removal. They find cheap enough ways to deal with our board. They might be able to protect the frog. I imagine that its time is limited, though. Look at those eyes. He's got no idea what's about to happen. Alright, Deep Fathom Echo hits the board. That means no blocks this turn. Bold move. They are willing to go down to 3 here. Which is fair enough. Deep Fathom Echo is solid value. But it also doesn't block any of our untapped creatures, so let's put them to 3 and see if they can get out of this one. Ray of Ruin, the Waterwind Scout, so they're only taking 2 damage in the sky now. Actually, just 1, because they get to trade the Dart Frog into a Guide Wing. But we've got the Cogwork Wrestler to eat the Dart Frog and put them to 2 life. Deep Fathom Echo finds a forest. They are slightly outracing me right now, aren't they? I don't think they will be once I play the Cogwork Wrestler, because then I do get to chump block the Echo 1 time. But right now they are outracing me. Down to 9. Tinker's Tote means they definitely don't outrace me. We're gonna have 3 blockers on the ground. They still hit me for 3 damage a turn from Cave Diver because of the combo with Echo, so they kill me in 3 attacks. Minimum. Or 3 attacks maximum, probably faster than that, because they can flip their Lodestone Needle and explore more, trying to buff up the Cave Diver. Are they keeping that frog for mana? They going full bold here? I was going to say, if they go full bold, I think I'll hold up the ability to sack the Tinker's Tote to gain life. But if they don't, then I will save a Guide Wing here. Uh-oh. Oh, I guess that's what you do when your frog's about to die. Make sure you get your mana out of it. Alright, let's see. Can they hit me for 9 unblockable damage with Cave Diver? Or can I just start chumping with my non-flying creatures? I'd be impressed if they hit me for 9 with Cave Diver. That'd be a fancy way to end it. Oh, the Echo can become a copy of the Cave Diver. Oh, shoot. They weren't using its ability at all earlier, so I kind of just forgot that was even a thing. Alright, so we needed to not Cogwork Wrestler here. I don't think we could have won then. Right? Because if I didn't Cogwork Wrestler here, they'd be down to 2 and I just have 1 Guide Wing on board. And I could gain the life off of... Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, now they become the copy. I could gain the life off Tinker's Tote to be at 12. But then I only have 1 Guide Wing on board. I guess if I explored into a non-land, then the Guide Wing would still hit for lethal next turn. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh. Well, then I do still win. Aha! I was right all along! Actually the best plays ever! Alright, well, I guess neither of us knew that wasn't going to work. It's like, I thought it was one of those, like, if you've explored this turn kind of things where it doesn't matter if you explored before you played the Cave Diver. But I guess it's when you explore, then you buff it. Yeah, when you explore, you give it the +1/+0 can't be blocked. So it's specifically when the explore happens. So if you put this on the board or change something else into a copy of it after you've already explored, it's too late to get the unblock ability. Okay, well, spooky stuff. Spooky stuff. If the card were worded slightly differently, we would have died there, but do manage to pull a victory out of our butts after some rough mulligans there, and we are now 5-2 guaranteed in the money out of this premier draft of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So really nice spot to be. See how much longer it lasts as we head into game number 8. All right, really nice starting hand here on the draw for game number 8. Get that Guide Wing down, get the Siren down next. And then we can play Sunscribe and Lodestone Needle, or just Gem Guard turn 3. If we hit a land. If we don't hit a land, then just stuck with the 2 drops. Staunch Crewmate, turn 2 from our opponent. Fantastic value play, one of my favorite uncommons from the format. Looks at the top 4, digs for a pirate or an artifact to put into your hand, and there's plenty of premium artifacts and some decent pirates as well. They're going to grab a Shipwreck Sentry, which is not what I would qualify as a decent pirate, but it is solid value when you get it off of a crewmate, so worth putting in your deck when you have cards that specifically pull out pirates for sure. Waterwind Scout, turn 3. Our opponent's got some premium stuff. Crewmate into Scout. If we ignore what the crewmate found, everything in the deck so far has been super, super good. I kind of like needling down the Scout here. Just keep the flying damage coming. And we get to be mana efficient, playing 4 mana worth of stuff there. Which I would get to do no matter what I cast. If I cast Gem Guard, that's also mana efficient, but I think that's pretty cool. They've got 3 mana up now after using their map token, and they're going to play a Cartographer's Companion, a 2/1 that gives them another map token. Solid stuff there. Got a Glorifier of Suffering here. I would quite like to buff up my flyers and hit even harder, even faster now. Yeah, I'll sack the... If I sack the Sunscribe, I can craft the Lodestone Needle with it later for 3 mana. 1 mana off from doing this and crafting, which would have been super sick, but... Yeah, I'm not really attacking a 2/2 into these 2/1s anyway. It seems decent. Especially the 2/3 Flying Vigilance. It's really good against the Waterwind Scout if they don't manage to explore their own counter onto it. That land is very good. Restless Anchorage. They get to crew it for 3 mana as a 2/3 flyer that spits out map tokens. Also, Old Tech Cloud Guard is very good. And that's a roadblock for us as well. So I need to play Gem Guard and start beefing it up, or I need to needle the Siren up to 4 toughness. If I'm lucky, I'm going to try to needle the Siren up. We'll see what we explore into here. We do hit another Glorifier of Suffering. That's actually a pretty interesting hit for us. Again, I don't have the most expendable permanents on this board, but those extra +1/+1 counters are valuable, as we are fighting multiple flyers now. I probably just sacrificed the first Glorifier. 20 life to 10 life, but they've got just as good of a board as us, if not slightly better, and they've got more cards in hand, so I do feel like it is anyone's game here. I actually feel like they are slightly favored, but that is my general pessimistic outlook. Potentially. Maybe not accurate. I would say in most games I'd rather be in my opponent's position. Like, it really depends what those 4 cards are, but unless they're really bad, like, I'd be happier to be the 10 life player with a bunch of cards and a super wide board than the 20 life player with just a couple threats. Okay. Well, I'm not really going to Archaeologist right now. I'm probably just Glorifying again. So let's Compass first. Let's get these both to 4 power, so they have to double block and I kill both the flyers when they do. Unless I hit a land, then they're not both 4. Dang. Alright, well, we do hit a land. They are not going to be 4 power then. At least the Guidewing's not. I think I Glorifier, sacking Glorifier. I do need to worry about their crackbacks on the ground because of how wide that ground has gotten at this point. It's their own Lodestone Needle. That will do it here. But I guess they still don't have great attacks in the sky. They've got just the Cloud Guard to attack in. Their Restless Anchorage land, that's a 2/3 flyer, and the Waterwind Scout's just a 2/2 flyer, so they have to deal with the Guidewing as well. to really break through. Alright, well there's their threat. They've got an incredibly wide board state to tap a bunch of cards and put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on this thing. So that's going to get very, very big. 3/3 for now, but it's only going to take a couple turns for that to be like a 7/7 or 8/8. If they want it to be. Okay, they are going to send in the Cloud Guard. You got it. No blocks. That means I get to send in the Guide Wing. I will trade 3 damage for 3 damage all day long. Okay, now I have to get a +1/+1 counter, but if I do get one, I'm hitting them for 4, putting them to 6 here. Which could be spectacular. Come on, Guidestone Compass, I believe in you. Let's make a 4/4 Guide Wing. Come on. No whammies, no whammies. Big money. Alright. Guess I could have scryed with archaeologists and then explored. That might have been actually worth it in this position. Generally not, but yeah, I should have done that. Wow. I really should have done that. We found the good clump. Actually, Schooner's not very good right now. Honestly, just Siren and Petrify matter here. But they're both pretty great. So I ditch Schooner then, probably. This is going to be just like slightly too slow, I think. Maybe not if I had managed to hit them for 4 here. So if I had Scribe pre-Compass, that might get there. I don't think there's anything in our deck that's going to be better than like these 2 cards in conjunction for trying to break through and win this game, but I don't think these cards quite get there. They've just got so much on board here for damage output. They're going to kill us in like 3 turns. It's going to take us longer than that to break through. Yeah, maybe even 2 turns here, honestly. Down to 11. Chart a course to draw 2 for even more value. Oof. More stun from the Waylaying Pirates. That is the nail in the coffin. And there is no out now. We know exactly what we're hitting. And those cards do not save us from this wide board state with all of those stuns. Alright. Very solid stuff from our opponent there. We could have played this out a little better, but now that we see that they were just going to Waylaying Pirates this turn, it just means we would have died with them at 6 life instead of with them at 10. Alright. Moderately close game, but they do overwhelm us in the end here. That is going to be 5-3 then. I think I need to stop the biggest flyer. Counter there. Multiple 4-power blockers. Still playing it out here, but I mean, we're functionally dead. But 5-3 is a very solid run. We are up in value. We're getting more gems back than we spent on this event. And not a bad way to top off the format, to end it off here. Okay. Yeah, they really had us here. They had the War Scribe 2 with a board this wide. That basically just has to be immediate lethal, right? I imagine so. I mean, we don't even need to do the math here. We just block the 3 biggest things and see what happens. Math is for no one this game. Not even for blockers. So those are the highest power creatures, and here's Mega Death, right? Yep. Cue some heavy metal music. That is 5-3 for this final draft of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Well, that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all again tomorrow for Murders at Karlov Manor.